Hello again, Dr. Dyke Drummond with the next of our Burnout Basics video series. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you some additional causes of burnout. These are not universal causes. Everybody doesn't have to deal with them, but if you have to deal with them, they could be your last straw. So the number one additional burnout stress that I see is actually trauma. It's the result of a bad outcome, a medical error, something that you witnessed as a caregiver, either in your training or in your practice, that was traumatic. But this is so common that I will tell you that in my coaching practice, about 20% of the folks that I take care of as a coach are actively experiencing PTSD and flashbacks because of trauma they're experiencing at work. Fortunately for some people, lines up like beads on a string with trauma they experienced in childhood. So trauma has a huge overlap with burnout, which brings this question. Do you think burnout can happen slow? Yeah, that's typically how we think about it, right? Death by 1,000 paper cuts wind you down, drain you out, and it happens slowly. But let me ask you this question. Do you think burnout can happen fast? Just like that? Nod your head, because the answer to that is yes, too. Other causes, money. Debt burden on new graduates can be extremely high. If I say these two words, net worth, if I say net worth and you say to yourself, what's that? Here's what you need to do. Grab a piece of paper and write down these words: fee-based financial planner. You need to see a fee-based financial planner, get a financial plan, have them analyze your net worth so that you know what your money situation is. Another miscellaneous cause of burnout is if you have a psychopath as a boss. And somebody who is actively persecuting you, seems to have it in for you and hides their persecution of you from everyone else who thinks they're wonderful while you're being tortured in the background. Perhaps the better and shorter course to a better practice is to quit and move on to greener pastures. At least that's been my experience, and I hope you don't find yourself in that situation now. Malpractice. Anytime a patient writes you a threatening letter, or you're involved in an actual lawsuit, that can destroy your confidence and drain your energy for sure. And your malpractice provider will give you this piece of advice. They'll say, don't talk to your colleagues, which from my perspective as a coach is crazy, but it is true, especially in the United States. If you talk about the specifics of your malpractice case to a friend, that friend can get put on the stand and testify against you. Not that they would want to, but they could be forced to. So as much as we need our colleagues to let us know they still trust and love us when we're being sued, sometimes that channel is cut off in a malpractice case. Let me say this real quick though. If you're being sued, your malpractice company also has people dedicated to supporting folks that are being sued. People you can talk to process your emotions, and your communication with that person is protected and can't be called on the stand. So ask your malpractice provider who you can talk to if you can't talk to your colleagues. And then last but not least, our healthcare education system, our healthcare delivery system is shot through with all the bias and discrimination that our regular society is. And I fully recognize that I stand here in front of you in this camera as a big old white guy. And as a big old white guy in our American culture, that means I've suffered the minimum of discrimination on my path to becoming a doctor. Which means if you're not either big or old or white or a guy like me in any permutation of those four variables, you've had to work harder than me to get where you are, and you probably have been actively discriminated against along the way, and that may be happening right now. And that discrimination can be a last straw for some people. I've seen it a number of times in my coaching practice. No, those are some big causes that I've seen. Not everybody has to deal with them. They're not universal, but if they're there, they can be your last straw. You realize this list is enormous, right? For sure, burnout is always multifactorial, and we're going to talk about how burnout is dealt with in a multifactorial fashion. Because in the next video, I'm going to show you another one of the great myths about burnout. Burnout's not even a problem, and you certainly can't solve it. So please, when you're ready, dive into that video. I'll see you there. Until then, keep breathing and have a great rest of your day.